and welcome to Football with Cheese. I actually recorded the AFC preview yesterday. It went really smoothly, and when I went to put it on YouTube, 2 minutes of it was gone. So I was not in the best mood yesterday. I was not happy. Here we are. I've got to do it all over again. Let's hope it goes as smooth as last time. Probably not. We'll see. Real quick before we get going, these college games were outstanding. Penn State and Notre Dame especially. Congratulations to Ohio State and Notre Dame on making the finals. I will have more on that next week, a whole video about those games. But today is the AFC preview show. So there are 3 AFC games. Let's start with Chargers-Texans. So I saw a crazy stat on X. I did not fact check it, so take this with a grain of salt. It says that the Texans have made the playoffs 8 times. And all 8 times, they've played the Saturday 4:30 Eastern game. Now, for those of you who don't know, that is usually the worst matchup. It usually gets the worst ratings because it's Saturday afternoon, 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific. People might be running errands. So the Houston Texans, that's their spot. I get it. Chargers-Texans, of all the games, it's the least one I'm looking forward to probably if I had to list them. So I get it. But that's just crazy stat. They've got to get out of that next time they make the playoffs. They've got to get to Sunday. Chargers weren't that good last year, but they had a good draft. And they got Joe Alt in the first round, 5th overall. Put him in at right tackle. Really needed help on the offensive line. He solidified that spot. And then Ladd McConkey traded up in the second round. The wide receiver out of Georgia. I don't know how he didn't go in the first round. And I don't know how New England traded back and didn't just take him. New England needs wide receiver more than any team in the NFL. Good job, Chargers. Ladd McConkey, he literally had one of the best rookie seasons a receiver's ever had. But no one's going to remember that because Malik Neighbors did better. And Brock Bowers, tight end for the Raiders, did even better. Broke the record for most catches in a year by a rookie. So McConkey, people aren't going to remember that. The Chargers on defense, Khalil Mack has had an unbelievable year. He's 33 years old. I don't think he's getting much recognition at all, like nationally. But I watched the All-22. I watched his film. He has just been a disruptor, and he's one of the big reasons why the defense has been so good. I think it's overachieved, and I think he's one of the reasons why. Derwin James is a great safety as well. He's had a great year. The Texans, so here's the thing with the Texans. They are probably the worst team in the playoffs, but they get the home game because they won the division. The AFC South is the worst division in football. It's terrible. The Texans' offensive line is bad. 3 of the 5 spots are bad. And on top of that, they lost Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs for the year. They're number 2 and 3 wide receivers. So you have Nico Collins, their number 1 receiver. He's terrific. He's a top 5 receiver in the NFL. But if you have one guy and a bad offensive line, you can scheme against that. And CJ Stroud hasn't played as well. And part of the reason is I think he's got pressure in his face. The offensive line has been so bad. And he doesn't have the weapons to throw to. And he's lost some confidence. He doesn't look like the same player. So it's been a rough season for the Texans offense. Their defense is pretty good, especially the pass defense. Those pass rushers, Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, are both terrific. And at corner, Derek Stingley Jr., very good player. And they drafted Kamari Lassiter in the second round out of Georgia. They got him in the late second round. He should have gone higher than that. But he did have a horrible combine. But you watch him in Georgia. I watch him play a lot at Georgia. And he's more athletic than that. He's better than those numbers. So they made a great pick. So he's been a really good number 2 corner for them. The only way the Texans win this game is they got to keep it close and get stops and get punts. The Chargers don't turn the ball over much. So you're going to have to get punts. You've got to get some 3 and outs. Keep it low scoring. It's going to be really tough. I'll make predictions all 3 games at the end. So let's move on to Steelers and Ravens. This is definitely the matchup I'm probably most looking forward to. I love division matchups in the playoffs. you're going to see it a third time, and you go back and look at how the first two went. The Steelers, I'll say this, they have played the Ravens and Lamar Jackson probably better than anyone has over the last 3 or 4 years. Them and maybe the Chiefs. They did lose to the Ravens about a month ago. The Steelers did not look good in that game. But the division matchups, you never know. And the Steelers, I think they've lost 4 straight. They're not playing well going in the playoffs. They have not been the same defensively since TJ Watt hurt his foot. He's playing, but he's not been as impactful, and that affects Alex Highsmith. That affects Cam Hayward. Affects the whole defense. On offense, the Steelers, they have 2 good running backs, Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. And they have George Pickens as a really good receiver, but they don't have much else in the passing game. I saw this morning that the Steelers are going to have some packages for Justin Fields. I think it's smart. I think Russell Wilson is a better passer. He is. But Justin Fields is so athletic and can run. I would have a lot of packages for him. I would play him probably a third or a quarter of the time because he gives you a different dynamic. Like I said, he's not a good passer as Russell Wilson, but you need to do something different because what they've been doing hasn't worked. The offense has been very stale of late. So I think that's smart. The Steelers just don't have a ton of playmakers in the passing game. And that's been their biggest problem in offense. Like I said, their defense is very good. It's just not been the same recently since TJ Watt got hurt. And the Ravens are a very good team. They're not a good team. They're a very good team. Lamar Jackson had an MVP-like year. He might win it again. His stats were much better than last year. He has more competition this year. Derrick Henry's an absolute beast. But there's one thing the Ravens that a lot of people are not talking about is Zay Flowers is out, their number 1 receiver. The rest of the receiving core is okay. It's not terrible. It's just not great. Zay Flowers seems to be the guy. If you watch the Ravens all year, he's the guy that Lamar looks to on a big third down or late in the game or a big fourth down. Just that's who he looks to. That's where he wants to get the ball to. Zay Flowers being out hurts their offense. And if this game is close, like in the fourth quarter, that could be really important. I also saw on NFL Network that he's the guy that they use in motion to see if a team's playing man or playing zone. In case you didn't know, a lot of teams will use a running back or receiver, put them in motion. If the defensive back, or linebacker runs with them, then it's man. If they just communicate and they don't run with them and they just shuffle, then they're playing zone. And it's very advantageous to know if a team's playing zone or man. It could change the whole play, especially run-pass options where you could run or pass. They'll have to use someone different in that. The Steelers aren't playing well, and the Ravens are playing great. And I noticed a lot of people are pretty much dismissing the Steelers. And leading into the next game, the Bills and the Broncos, a lot of people are giving the Broncos a chance, and almost no one's giving the Steelers a chance, which is interesting. I usually don't look before I make predictions what other people are saying. I'm sticking to what I made in the video yesterday. But that's just really interesting to me because it's a division rivalry game, the Steelers-Ravens. Anything could happen. So I'm a little surprised that everyone's just dismissing the Steelers and Ravens are going to win easy. And then everyone just assumes the Broncos, they look at their defense. It's been great all year. They can keep it low scoring, keep Buffalo scoring. Good luck with that. So let's talk about Bills-Broncos. Like I said, the Broncos, great pass rush. Nick Benito's had a great year. Undersized pass rusher, but he's been a playmaker all year. Patrick Surtain is maybe the best corner in the NFL. He will shut you down, period. On offense, the Broncos, Bo Nix had a great rookie year. He's playing really well. Cortland Sutton is the receiver. When in doubt, just throw it up to him. He's going to catch it. He's going to keep feet in. He just makes some amazing catches. He's not super fast. He doesn't have this big separation rate, but he just makes catches. So, and their O-line is underrated. It's a very good pass-blocking offensive line in Denver. As far as the Bills go, so here's the thing with the Bills' defense. They have 2 guys that are really good. Greg Rousseau, the edge rusher, and Christian Benford, the corner. Other than that, they have a bunch of average to below average players. A bunch of guys that could easily be replaced. It's just not a great defense. And they had back-to-back games earlier this year against the Rams and the Lions. where they gave up 40 points or more in both games. They won one of them, but in shootouts, you're going to win half the time. And the Bills cannot get in shootouts every game in the playoffs. They will not win the Super Bowl. You're going to win half the shootouts. So they've got to play better. I guess Ed Oliver is pretty good defensive tackle, but he's not as good as he used to be. I'd say he's above average now. So basically, the Bills got to play better defense. On offense, Josh Allen's one of the best players in the game. James Cook's one of the best running backs. He's like 185 pounds, but he runs bigger than that. He'll run between the tackles. He can run routes in the passing game. And a lot of people, what I mentioned earlier about how the Broncos have this chance, their defense, that's why they have a chance. Yes, they have Surtain, but the Bills don't have that. They're not a team that has that number one wide receiver that you need to shut down. If Patrick Surtain shuts down Amari Cooper, the Bills are still going to be okay. They have depth at receiver. They play 4 or 5 guys at receiver. It's not a great group, but it's a deep group. And they have 2 pretty good tight ends. So I don't think this is the best matchup for the Broncos. I think this is the type of offense they could struggle against, especially because the Bills' offensive line, just like the Broncos, is pretty good pass blocking offensive line. Better pass blocking than run blocking. Josh Allen has taken 4 sacks this year. That's it. Part of it's Josh Allen's hard to bring down, but still, 4 sacks all year. So it's going to be tough to get him down. So what do we think? Okay, prediction time. Chargers -3. I'm taking the Chargers. Just about everybody is. Texans are just not very good. Chargers are a good team, not a great team. I expect them to win probably only 1 round. They still have some holes in the roster they need to fill, but they're on their way. Steelers-Ravens. Most people are taking the Ravens -9.5. For a playoff game, that is a humongous number. You rarely see a playoff game with a spread that big. Rivalry game, I get it. My gut's saying take the Ravens. They're a lot better. They are better. But I'm going to take the Steelers plus 9.5. I just have a feeling the Steelers are going to keep it close. And then finally, the Bills are favored by 8.5. That is a very large number. I thought it would be about 7. I see a lot of people taking the Broncos versus the spread and even picking to win. I saw one guy said, I think 17-14 Broncos. It's like the Bills scoring 14 points at home. I don't see that. I don't see it. I'm going to take the Bills to cover here. I just have a feeling they're going to win by 14, 17 points. I think Josh Allen's going to have a monster game. And I like the Bills to cover the 8.5. Now, I'll say one more thing about the Broncos. They have not been good on the road the last few months. I think they've won 1 road game since the middle of October, and that was against the Raiders. And the one in October was against the Saints. Those are bad teams. They started well on the road, but they really did not play well. They lost to Cincinnati a couple weeks ago on the road, gave up 30 points. So, yeah, I'm going to take the Chargers to cover, Steelers to cover, but I expect the Ravens to win. And we'll take the Bills to cover and win. There we go. Tomorrow, or maybe this afternoon, we're going to do the NFC preview. That one, a little tougher, I think, to predict in the AFC games. But make sure you follow me on X. It's Football Cheese, spelled like Cheez-It, at Football Cheese. Any person you know likes football, share this video. If you've watched all my videos, you know I'm not going to sit here and read stats. I try to think outside the box. I try to think of things that other people aren't saying. If you want someone to read stats, just watch John Gruden's YouTube videos. He just sits there and gets excited and reads, second in rushing against 29th against the run. Yeah, he's all pumped up. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to read stats. I trust my eyes. I'm not going to look at the grade of the Texans' offensive line. I can see with my eyes it's a bad offensive line. So share this video. Anyone who loves football. Share any ideas for videos you like. Comment, share, subscribe. Give me a thumbs up and enjoy the games.